Hi, I'm Lori. Welcome back to Milkweeds and Roses. Spring has sprung. Boy, it's about time. I don't know about you, but man, was this a long winter? Wow. Well, I'm very excited to show you some of the spring highlights of my backyard garden. Things are waking up and looking gorgeous. So very happy with how things are progressing so far and energized by the fact that there's so much work to do. Must be the farm girl in me, I don't know, but it's just kind of itching to get going. I have to show you some of the things. Let me show you around the yard, some things that are looking really good right now. Okay, are you ready? Let's go. Remember when we planted the daffodils and the Queen of the Night tulips and put them in a nice little rodent-proof cage? Well, it certainly paid off. So they're looking gorgeous. This is the topsy-turvy blend combination from Color Blends. Looking so nice. Aren't they looking pretty? And because of the proximity of the daffodils to the tulips, the rabbits aren't coming anywhere close. There's some more tulips yet to open. You can see they will be pink and gorgeous. I'm excited. Of course, the crocus have gone over, but they looked lovely. Nice little petite daffodils. So pretty. Oh, they're just precious. And so fragrant. They're starting to go over, of course, but the hyacinth. I haven't grown them before, certainly in the ground, so I'm hoping these do come back every year and multiply. I'll be excited about that. And look at the gorgeous color of this tulip. These guys have yet to open, but they'll blend nicely with the hyacinth. And again, as a reminder, if you see hyacinth bulbs that you plant in the fall, remember they are noxious to the touch, so you have to wear gloves when you plant them or handle them and that sort of a thing. It also explains why no critters touch them, which is kind of nice. Now, these are curious to see the ruffled edges. They have yet to open, which will be nice. Little tulips in there. I'll have to look up what variety that was, but I really like it. And again, among the daffodils, and this is the kind of daffodil that has multi-blooms on a single stem, so I think that's really cute. Some other plants starting to come back. My sedge coming back, which is nice. This area, now that we have the waterfall going, it does put a lot of splash out here. And I can tell you, I have seen some bumblebees out here gathering moisture, because remember, all creatures need moisture, and they grab it right off of the mulch and fly off. And the tulips up on the hill. Now, it's much drier up here because of the slope and also the sun. Tucked there in the middle, can you see the peony, the herbaceous peony that I dug up and replanted a little bit higher last year? I'm hoping it's going to pay off with some buds. Fingers crossed. And in here, we have some more gorgeous little daffodils. And we'll wait to see once these open. I also have in here some daffodils, Elvin's Voice, and it's named after, petite little daffodils named after Elvin MacDonald, former editor of Better Homes and Gardens, founder of the Gesneriad Society. So when you think of African violets and gloxinias, that's Elvin. 85 years old, maybe slightly now, but just incredible. I interviewed him, and he is just kind of the founding father of landscape gardening, and catered to the stars. He's had an amazing career, and I mean, the notable people, old Hollywood. I mean, it's what an incredible guy. And he lives just a couple miles from me here, so very approachable, very knowledgeable, and of course he would have a daffodil named after him. Makes sense. Okay, now I've got a rhododendron on the hill there. I don't know if you can see it. I'll zoom in. It does have some pink blooms. I'll get a little bit closer. There we go, but not thriving. And I think it's the soil. So I have fertilized it, but it's a stretch here sometimes to grow rhodies. It's just so dry here. And remember, they like acidic soil. I do have some clematis, or as they say in Iowa, clematis. Some clematis growing up against the fence. I would like to envelop this whole fence with gorgeous blooms, different colors. I think that would be nice. It's a work in progress. The spirea here was here when we came, so it's just waking up, just getting going. These two varieties of clematis, now this isn't a climbing clematis, this is more like a sprawling clematis. It has tiny little blue flowers. It's called Mrs. Robert Brighton, and I planted them here on the edge of the wall with the idea that they will tumble over it. They'll tumble over it. That's what I want. And they did that last year. They do that every year. They're hardy. You just cut them down to the ground. So it's a type 3 clematis that blooms on new wood. They sprout up from the ground every year, so super nice to have. Back in the little fairy planter tucked in there, it does get morning sun somewhat, as you can see behind the lilac tree. But I just put some different varieties of coleus this year. So that usually is a good spot for that. Now you can tell our little friends, the rabbits, have been after Angelica, these tulips that I've had here for a couple of years now. Little stinkers. But the bloom is tucked in there, so I'm hoping it will be okay. Usually they move on to other things this time of year because the grass is up, there's just more to choose from. But yeah, the stinkers, let me tell you what. And look at Tangutica, the type 3, no, I believe it's type 3, it might be type 2, I'll look it up. Blooms on new wood, shoots from the ground every year, likes the sun, so this is a good spot, pardon my shadow, a good spot for her. Comes up, this will be gorgeous yellow flowers and should be strong enough to make it over the top of this arbor. That's the plan anyway. Another clematis variety down here. So between the yellow and the red flowers, I think that should be kind of a nice thing. I have put an azalea in here, which is starting to bloom, pardon the garden hose. And this is just to protect it. It's prunings from a spiky little rogue evergreen bush that I put around it to keep the rabbits away. But isn't she pretty? She does get morning sun, but is hardy for this zone. And I would love to have something kind of mask this big beast here, our air conditioner unit. I'm looking for options on the one in the backyard yet. I don't know. So still working on that. Right in here are some daylilies that I need to divide because they don't bloom much. They have sort of overrun the space. And tucked in here also are some millennium alliums, which are doing great, but they're getting kind of crowded in here. And this is where I've also moved some daylilies because they tend to like that area. The night owl rose, looking good, has been fertilized, cleaned up, pruned, the winter dieback, and so should be ready to go. I have some pulmonaria in here along with some phlox starting to come up. And this is new for me in this spot. This is where I did have the seven sun flower shrub that I was going to prune into tree form. But as I started to look at it, it is just so damp back here. It's the proximity to the sprinkler system or sprinkler head, which we probably use more than we should, but it's to hydrate the ash tree up front, which is fighting emerald ash borer, and an arborist that we hired gave us that advice, make sure that she stays watered and hydrated and protected. So she's trying to fight off the emerald ash borer. She has been treated, but boy, I'd hate to lose that tree. So as a consequence, this area is damper than I'd like, even though it's in shade as well, which makes it moist, it's excessively damp. And so a swamp, something, isn't that hilarious? A swamp azalea. But it is budded up, ordered it, and swapped out the 7 sunflower. I've moved it on the other side of the fence, which gets more sun and it's dry, and put this swamp azalea in here. So hardy for this zone, doesn't get overly tall, so I think it should be a nice area. Anyways, move over to the other side of the fence here. I've planted some Lobelia cardinalis, going to be tall red spires of flowers here that likes it damp. Lobelia needs damp conditions, and this whole area, because of where it is, again, in proximity to the sprinkler head and between 2 houses, it's just always damp. We've worked various different things to try to handle it. My husband is, adamant that we can grow grass here, but I just know it's not going to happen. There's not enough sun. It's too moist. It just struggles. And it's not really, grass is no favor for pollinators. Do you know what I'm saying? You're better off trying something else. So I've planted some lobelia in here. Some other flowers starting to come up that were planted last year. This is an iris, actually an ode variety that came up here. And we have lungwort, which is beautiful blue flowers. Isn't that just beautiful? Okay. And it hasn't woken up yet, but I think she's going to be just fine. A hibiscus. Our daffodils are blooming, which is kind of nice to look out the window and see these beautiful flowers. And on the other side, I have to cage because of the rabbits that like to hop over the fence and come say hi. I've got a rose that's going. I do have some Siberian iris that have been planted in here with some daylilies. Didn't see much of them last year, and I think it's just largely because of the rabbits coming over, so that's what happens. There were some hostas here that were just getting fried in the sun, pardon my shade, fried in the sun. So I've picked them up, lifted them, and put them under the trees on the south side of my yard, my garden, so that they can thrive. The ones that remain have a spot of sun or may get shielded by, hopefully, the 7 sunflower when he takes off. He already likes it here better than the other spot. Take a look. Isn't that lovely? So I do have to protect him from the rabbits, though. Stinkers. And these are the hostas that have been here, I bet you, for 15 years. So we're just doing that. I was going to take this, it's a pillar hibiscus out. I thought it was dead because rabbits keep going after it. But you know what? I scratched a stem and it's green. And look, let me get in the sun, better light. See that green growth? And you see it? There is some green growth in there. So she's alive. She just needs some protection from those little varmints. And so we're going to see how she does this year. But they can grow 6 to 8 feet tall and only about 2 feet wide. So that's what they're known for, kind of bluish flowers, which I think would be nice, popping over our fence here and adding a little bit of privacy. These are some daylilies that have been moved. They should like it here a little bit better. There are still some hostas that are popping up that I missed. Remember last year was such a frenzy trying to get all these things done before I had my foot surgery and was out early for the season. So that's where we are here. The rose is taken off. Rabbits pruned this before I put the cloche on it. So I didn't have any winter dieback to prune. She's just doing it all by herself. There is a clematis in here that hasn't done anything, but I think it's because it's, again, rabbits or possibly the soil. I did plant some types of lavender in here, but as with most lavender, just not good luck. It's just simply too wet and cold in an Iowa Zone 5B winter to have those work. So But still, I'm pleased with how things are coming along. Planted a blue bachelor button here, which should like this spot. And there is some sedge in there, and there were some crocus that have gone over. So we'll see how things go from there. I have some more lungwort and some hostas in here, as well as I transplanted some old Annabelle hydrangeas to make room for a rose, and I put the hydrangeas in here because where they are sited right now, they get really too much sun. They look great, and they get the big heads and then they flop. I mean, that's kind of the old variety. That's what happened. They were here when we moved here. The backyard tree, the maple, was devastated in a big storm, so that put some blazing sun in areas of our yard. Hostas are going to like it here. I did plant this azalea. I was going to take it out. She doesn't look good, but when I scratched at a stem, it was still green, so I fertilized her and kept her watered and just been optimistic. This area gets a lot of shade and it's quite damp, so you've got to look for things that can handle those sorts of conditions. Otherwise you'll just be disappointed. So I'd like to put some more things in here, but as I look at it and obviously I have to move the hose. As I look at this area and dig things to put things in there, I find huge caches of black walnuts that the squirrels have taken from the neighbors' trees. I mean, love these trees, so gorgeous. But yes, they do make it complicated because the juglone from the soil of black walnuts extend usually the reach of their canopy. And look, at the canopy is now into our yard. So beautiful trees, but again, it does make it a challenge for gardening. This is a rogue crabapple of some variety that just popped up here, so I'm pruning it. Going to try to espalier this to make it interesting. I don't know, sometimes when things pick a spot on their own, I'm thinking maybe nature knows something I don't, so let's try to go with it. Unless it's an invasive weed or something, but I'm going to try to see what I can do with this. If any blooms show up, I have to be patient with that, but that could be interesting along the fence. So that's what we've got here so far. Otherwise, early days. We have the Agastaki, which I love. She's just starting to green up there. That's it for this edition of Milkweeds and Roses. Boy, do we have a lot of work to do. But I just had to run out here and do a quick couple of backyard garden tour videos while we have these gorgeous trees still in bloom. Don't you just love it? Because it only seems to last for a moment, and things are changing pretty fast this time of year. That gorgeous crabapple behind me that's in bloom, the petals are already starting to fall, and it's only been in bloom probably 4 days. A single wind comes up, which is what we're expecting with storms tomorrow, and most of that tree, most of the pretty leaves, the pretty petals, sorry, not the leaves, but the petals, will be toast. So I had to get out here real quick and just do a quick little video to say, wow, things are beginning. They're looking good. It's a start. I hope things are going well in your garden this spring. If you have questions, let me know. I would love to hear how you deal with it and what things are going on. I do hope you subscribe and like this video. That helps me out, and I think it also keeps us all connected. After all, I do believe, especially as a master gardener, we all learn from each other. No matter where you live or what your background is, gardening is energizing and unifying for us all. Truly. Thanks for joining me. I'll see you again soon.